Hi everybody, I'm John Pomeroy, your instructor, and this lesson is about muscles and anatomy. Now this covers quite a bit of material because the muscles in our body, there's quite a few of them. Arm muscles, the muscles of the chest, muscles of the leg, muscles of the neck area, muscles of the feet. So we've got a lot of things to cover in regards to the muscles and their structure, how they're attached, and even what their names are. So let's get started. So let's start with an overall idea of the height of the male body. So let's say that that's the height. There's the ground plane, that's the top of his head. I'm going to divide that in the center and then subdivide that. Let's see. Body should be on an average of 8 heads tall. So right there, I've got 1 head, 2 head, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's important that you keep these consistent because I don't want to get anything out of proportion. So I always make sure that I keep that scale on the side of 8 heads to remind me 8 head tall for the overall proportions. So here's our head up here. We'll just put in an oval, rough outline, rough placement of the eyes, nose, and mouth. Coming off that is the neck. The waist, that right there is right about where the hip area and the groin is. And I'm just going to rough in the chest, rough position of the legs. Let's see, right around, let's see, that line right there between head number 2 and number 3 is basically, I think, where the knees are going to be. And then we got the thigh, hip area, other thigh, lower leg, we've got the calf. There's the foot, and there is the other foot. Now we will get into the details of all of these in the as we continue these lessons, structures on how to draw the foot, how to draw the arm. But I'm just roughing them out because I want to get a setup here to show you the muscles, the basic muscles of the body. Deltoid, arm, end of the hand is just below the crotch area, right about there. Rough in a hand, a thumb. There's the arm. Okay, now I think we're set to start to define some of these muscle areas. Let's start with one of the largest on the upper body. This, right where the chest is called the pectoralis major. And we'll write that there. Pectoralis major. As I mentioned before, all of these muscles are in Latin. And they've kept them faithfully. They in all medical practice and studying art, they remain the same in Latin. These two muscles here that define the shoulders, they start right where the trapezius. Now, this muscle right here, you can't see it completely because it wraps around the back, but it overlaps on the front, and it's called the trapezius. Right there. So we got the pectoralis major, we've got the trapezius. We have these two muscles right there that connect from the trapezius. They overlap onto the arm. They are called the deltoids. D-E-L-T-O-I-D, deltoid muscle. And there's one on each side for each shoulder. Underneath that, bulging out from the upper arm are the biceps on either side. So when you flex your muscle, the one muscle that's bulging out from your arm is the bicep. Coming off of right there is where the elbow is on the other side. The muscles that divide the lower arm. This muscle right here is the brachioradialis. Boy, that's a long one. Brachioradialis. And the muscle next to it are the finger flexors. Finger flexor muscles. And they will help turn and twist the hand and provide strength for the rest of the arm structure. Coming down from the armpit, right here, and hugging this group of muscles, these muscles on either side are called the serratus anterior muscles. And anterior meaning front side. If it were the back side, it would be serratus posterior. But these are on either side, just below the pectoralis muscles. We have this grouping here, like a washboard, that protects a lot of the vital organs and is the muscle group called the abdominals. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of those. 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of abdominal muscles. And then on either side of that, extending down from the serratus muscles, on either side is the external obliques. That's on either side of the abdominal muscles. Let me label the abdominal. Abdominal. And the obliques extend down to the hip area, all the way down to the thigh. And there's a lot of little smaller muscles in between. I'm just basically identifying the most prominent ones. There is a muscle that starts from the hip area and wraps around. It's a very slender muscle, but a very important one for the leg. And that is called the sartorius. sartorius muscle. And beneath that are the group of muscles that make up the thigh. And they come down all the way down to the kneecap. And those are called quadriceps. That should be an I, quadriceps. There are muscles inside, way inside past the sartorius muscles, and they are called abductors. They would actually, if I had the sartorius muscle out right there, the abductors are right in the inseam, right next to the sartorius muscles. The lower leg the muscle right here facing the outside of, or the outer leg muscle, is the gastrocnemius. Gastrocnemius muscle. And that's the outer leg muscle. Inner leg is the tibialis anterior. Anterior. So that's all of our basic muscle groups for the anterior or frontal portion of our male form. Now, let's take a look at the posterior. I'm just going to kind of use my structure. I can sort of see through the paper. I'm going to kind of map out there's the backbone, there's the hip, there's the hand, thigh, it's my ground plane, top of the head. Just getting a rough idea of the back side of the male form. So let's start from the largest muscle on the back. We've got our muscle called the trapezius. We saw a little bit of that on the front side, the anterior side, but its largest mass is in the back. That's the back of the head right there. There's the neck going up to the cranium. The trapezius starts up the neck, crosses down, and two portions of it, like two large fingers, are on either side of the back of the neck. It comes down to a point, to about mid-back area, and then fans out on either side, and attaching itself to the bone right there, and probably the scapula and the deltoid. Deltoid is right here. You got deltoid and trapezius. That muscle right there. Trapezius. Underneath the trapezius, right next to the deltoid, are these two little smaller muscles right by the armpit called the teres major. Teres major. Major. And then beneath that, fanning out away from the backbone and coming up to the gluteal muscles is the latissimus dorsi. It almost looks like a butterfly right here, latissimus dorsi. It's attached right there to the backbone, fans out underneath the teres major. There's the latissimus dorsi. SI, right there. And then beneath that starts the gluteal muscles. There is a small, slender muscle above that called the extenders. No, it's called the gluteus medius, right here. Gluteus medius. Beneath that are the larger muscles that make up the buttocks, and those are the gluteus maximus. Right there. Maximus. Then coming away, let's see, we have the larger muscle grouping right beneath the gluteal muscles. That grouping is simply called the hamstring muscles on either side. And beneath that is the gastrocnemius muscles. Yes, long name. Going back up to the arm, we've got the triceps right here. They come down to, from the deltoid down to the elbow. Triceps. And then beneath that are the finger extenders. Finger extensors. I'll correct myself. So there's all the basic muscle groupings of the male form. Now, based on that, let's take a look and see what the female form is like. Now, the basic muscle groupings on both male and female are basically the same. They're just distributed a little bit differently. Now, I'm going to use the eye line of the male as the top of my skull for the female, and the female's just scaled a little bit smaller, just a touch. So let's use a new piece of paper. There's our line through the middle of the form. So there's the top of our head. There's our ground plane. We want to be right in the middle. Scaled to that proportion, she should be 8 heads tall. So I'm going to mark 8 heads. It's 1, let's see, I'll start at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 heads tall. I just want to keep that basic proportion correct. Her neckline, her shoulders, there's the inseam and the groin area right there, and her hips. There would be, she has a narrower rib cage than the male. Arms, and then legs. I'll bring the legs out just a little bit further. And the hands, eye line, eye placement, nose, mouth. So we have neck, and we have the trapezius muscles that come wrapping in across the neck at the top of the shoulder. Trapezius. We have the pectoral muscles. They're a little bit smaller and protecting the upper part of the rib cage. We have the bust line right there. So the pectoral muscles right here on either side. We've got deltoid muscle. Give her hair like Wonder Woman. Deltoid muscles. We've got the biceps right here, and they attach right about where the elbow is. Biceps. We've got the two muscles, the brachioradialis and the finger flexors. Right here. Brachioradialis. And then finger flexors. We have, let's see, the abdominals right here. Divided the same way into 4 rows, the lower row being the largest, protecting the abdomen. Let's see, on either side we have the external obliques. Obliques. We have the hip area. We come down to the knee, thigh. We have just below the hip area, we have that the sartorius muscle. Sartorius. We have abductors on the inseam. Abductors. We have abductors right there, and then we have sartorius right there. We have quadriceps. That's the main portion, the main grouping of our thigh, quadriceps, lower leg muscle, have our foot, I draw these out with a calf. So we have inside is the gastrocnemius. Then on the outside is the tibialis anterior. Anterior or frontal. So there we have our basic rundown of all the muscles for the female form. Let's quickly look at the back of the reverse side. We have the head, ground plane, top of the head, cranial mass, neck, ears, shoulders. There's the placement of the deltoids. There's the vertebrae, the back. Arms. We have the trapezius coming down and attaching the same way in the back of the neck as we saw in the male form. We have the deltoid right here, back part of the deltoid. So right here is trapezius. Deltoid. Right here, we've got the teres major. And then coming out down from that, we've got, let's see, I'll get the side of her chest here. There's the armpit. Right here, coming down to the elbow, is the tricep. Below that, coming from the elbow to the wrist, right outside here is brachioradialis. And inside are the finger extensors. Further down, we have the latissimus dorsi. A butterfly shape that's kind of radiating from the backbone across the rest of the back and starting to wrap around the chest. Dorsi. Okay, we've got the back, we've got the arm, then we're coming down here to the hip area. We have radiating across the top of the gluteus maximus. We've got two sets. We've got external obliques. Right here, and underneath it is the gluteus medius. And then beneath that is the gluteus maximus. Gluteus maximus. And then all the muscles of the leg. Let me quickly lay that out here. Calf, back of the knee, foot. So we have the hamstring muscles coming all the way up to the gluteal. Hamstring. And then below that, the large calf muscles. Gastrocnemius. So there's all the groupings of the muscles for the female form on the posterior side, back side, and then we've got all of her muscles also on the front side. So we've covered complete forms, all the musculature for male and female forms. So that concludes our lesson. It's quite a lot of material. I hope you took notes. For your assignment, I would like you to go and just observe your own arm, hand, and draw it. See if you can identify the muscles in your body. Sketching is always a good thing because with practice makes perfect. So if you can just look at your own body, or members of your family for that instance, look at someone's leg, look at someone's arm, look at the neck muscles, look at the muscles in the back, and draw those. Get familiar with all the muscle groups and their functions and their names too. And that's your assignment. I love teaching you. I'm hoping that you learned a lot from this lesson, that you can put it to good use. I look forward to seeing you at our next lesson. Bye-bye.